well as Alexia Kammer here from the CPT office. And so we just wanted to have this flash chat to give you some quick chapter meeting ideas and go through a few different things, because that's some of the feedback we hear from students, is that they're looking for some assistance in terms of understanding what their chapter meetings should look like, what are some ideas they can have to enhance some of their meetings. And so hopefully today we'll be able to provide you with some ideas, but then also give you an opportunity to ask some questions as well, and we would love to help in any way we can. So to start off with, again, with that agenda review, we'll start off with some meeting ideas. We'll also show you some agenda samples, and so some students have requested that, and so we think that'll be helpful for you all. And then one of the common questions we hear is, how do I find speakers for your meetings and activities? So we'll cover that, and then share some best practices, maybe get some ideas from you, but also definitely share some from some of our other chapters as well.
And if you have questions along the way, feel free to just interrupt us, or you can also use the chat message feature that should be on your screen.
Okay, so as we get into our first set of chapter meeting ideas, we actually have roughly 8 ideas that we want to share with you all. But the first one, you'll see there, topic 1 is personal ethics in the workplace, and it says that the activity is to play 4 corners. And if you haven't played 4 corners before, essentially what you do is you pose some sort of ethical dilemma, describe a scenario that happens, and if you need some ideas for those ethical dilemmas, we have some of those. And so if you email your account representative or email myself or Alexia, we can definitely share some of those scenarios with you. And then you would propose a course of action. So let's say you find out that a coworker has been double dipping on their expense reports, and they've been getting reimbursed more than they should be. So you, as the employee or as their coworker, maybe you propose that you're trying to figure out what action should this person take as the coworker to try to rectify the situation. And so maybe you propose to the group, okay, in this particular case, I would immediately go tell the Human Resources Department and then let them handle it from there. So what you do with 4 corners is say, as it relates to the action of reporting this to Human Resources as your first step, if you strongly agree, go to corner 1. If you just agree, go to corner 2. If you disagree, go to corner 3. And if you strongly agree, go to corner 4. And then from there, you can basically, have somewhat of a debate and try to get feedback from each of the people in those groups and say, why do you agree that this is the best course of action to take as your first step, or why do you disagree? And that can create some good dialogue. And if you have a case where perhaps everyone goes to the same corner for an issue, then maybe that's an opportunity to kind of push back and say, okay, well, I see everyone landed in this corner. Did you consider any other alternatives that could have worked? And maybe you can brainstorm what some other ideas could have been. So that's an activity that you could play. And if you want, one thing I'll say, as Alexia mentioned, we're just kind of going over kind of a quick recap and overview of these items. If you want any detailed information on any of the things we're discussing, please feel free to email us, and we'll definitely be glad to share more details about each game. Idea 2, modern manners for millennials in business, and you could host a mock business lunch. This is a neat activity because oftentimes in your careers, business deals sometimes come down to networking, and so we have to understand how to interact with those professionals in terms of the lingo that we use, in terms of our cell phone usage, all those sorts of things. And so it can be good if you can have some type of mock session to kind of go over this. Now, you could reach out to one of your local business community members or one of your professors and ask them about leading this, or we can provide you with some instructional tools even if a student would like to lead it. Topic number 3, office politics and workplace gossip. So the activity, many of you have probably played this before, but playing telephone, where you start with one message and then each person whispers it to another person, and then by the time you finish the message, after it's gone through maybe 10 or 15 people, you find out, you ask the last person to say, what is the message that, that they received? And oftentimes what happens is the person who started the message and the person who received the message last, the message is totally different. And it's just kind of a good example of why it's not always good to have workplace gossip and spreading rumors, because many times things get misconstrued in your message, and so that can be a danger zone. And so that's a good interactive activity you can play with your peers as well. And then topic 4, interview prep. One of the things we hear from our students is many of you are looking for job internships while you're in college, but then also looking for full-time job opportunities. And so you can have a night where you go through and do some mock interviews and get feedback. Again, maybe this is from some of your professors. Maybe you even get some alumni from your school who can come in and say, if I was hiring for this position, here's what I would be looking for. And they can give you some good feedback based on your performance there. And they can also help with some resume editing tips as well. So, so that's another good activity for your chapters. And then next we move into topic 5, the Lessons I've Learned series. And so what you can do here is it says ask community members to share how they overcame ethical dilemmas. So there, based on some of the research that we've looked at, roughly 80% of young professionals will face some sort of ethical dilemma in their first 2 years in the workforce. So chances are, if you reach out to some of your alumni members or just people in your business community, they've likely faced some sort of ethical dilemma, and having them come in and talk about what happened, why it happened, and how they responded, and what their thoughts are after that, because they may have responded in a positive way, but they may have made a mistake as well. And that can be helpful to learn from. And so reaching out to them and asking them to invest in your development and by sharing their experiences, oftentimes they're very receptive to that type of situation. And then also that kind of gets into topic number 6. It's a great networking opportunity. So you can begin to build relationships with people in your community. And then also, as it says here, you can have a networking night where sometimes you can have a networking workshop or presentation that goes over a number of tips and strategies for networking, because this is an area of discomfort for many people. And so that's an area that we're definitely on board to help with. If you need some resources to facilitate that type of activity, we have some PowerPoint slides and other things that we could share with you if you'd like to do that. But again, just working on building those relationships, and that's a great opportunity as well. And then the basics of ethics. So you can create a Jeopardy game, and you can basically include different types of trivia related to your student CPT chapter, related to the national office or ethics in general. And maybe you can mix in some current events or some things just around your city. And a little bit later, I'll show you an example of one school who did this very effectively. And so, so I think you'll enjoy seeing that. And the neat thing about the example that I'm going to show you is that this is something that any school can replicate, because they basically took an app from a website and were able to customize it to meet their needs and have this interactive Jeopardy game. And so that's something that you can definitely take away from this. And I think that could be a fun activity for your peers as well. And then topic number 8, the recruitment event. You can do what's known as a dorm storm or a class storm. And so the way this would work, if you do a class storm, that would be more so saying, we're having a meeting tonight, and you ask a professor, hey, can I come in right quick for a few minutes right before class and just pass out a few flyers and let people know what we're doing. And in the dorm storm, maybe you have some pizza or wings or whatever it is that people like on your campus, and so you go around the dorm and say, you knock on people's doors and say, hey, we're about to have a meeting, we're going to have free pizza, come to our meeting and then find out what we're going to talk about. And that can be a good opportunity to expose your chapter to other students on your campus. And so, and that way, even whether they're interested in ethics or not, they can come to the meeting, and then once you kind of sell them on it and help them see the benefits of joining, then they can be recurring members and come back in the future. So, so that's a really neat opportunity for you as well. Then the next thing, you know, I told you we would talk about meeting agenda examples. And so this example here, you know, we mentioned playing telephone earlier and having kind of the workplace gossip. So this is just a sample, and what you'll see at the beginning is a welcome message and chapter announcements from the chapter president. And this is something that's always good to do because you never know exactly who's in your meeting, and so you may have some first-time attendees or visitors, and so it's a good opportunity to kind of recap what the organization is about and really just make sure they know what meetings are coming up. If you have a community service activity, maybe you're participating in the Ethics in Action video competition, all of those sorts of things, that's a great opportunity to do that in the beginning of the meeting. And then next you could do your activity to kind of kick things off and almost like an icebreaker to get people relaxed and feeling good about the meeting. And then maybe you can have a speaker kind of talk a little bit more about saying, okay, you played this activity earlier. Here's why we did that. Here's why this is important. And then do a Q&A and then some closing comments by the chapter president. So that's one meeting structure that's worked well. And again, you're only doing that for an hour or so. So we know you all have busy schedules, and we definitely want to be respectful of your time. And so you can have a short meeting like that. And then here you'll see on the second example, we talked about the dorm storm earlier. So for the first 10 minutes, you're walking around the dorms, knocking on people's doors. Then you actually have them come down. They participate in the activity that you have for the evening. Maybe it's a speaker, maybe it's the Four Corners activity, something like that. And then afterwards, they can go ahead and eat the food. And I really want you all to notice that on this agenda, it says the pizza party is towards the end. That's very important because sometimes, if you put that at the beginning of the meeting, then people will eat the food and leave before you ever get into your activity. So that's just a helpful tip to try to, you know, show them the food and tell them about the food, but don't let them eat until the end of the meeting to make sure that they'll stay. And then the third meeting agenda template that you see is one where you can do something that maybe there's a TV show that you and your friends like, and so you may say, we'll come in, we'll do our regular announcements, and then we'll watch a clip from a TV show or even a movie, minute clip or even shorter, and maybe it shows some type of ethical dilemma in that scene. And so you all can dissect that and try to figure out what exactly led to that situation, what's going on, and what would we do if we found ourselves in that situation. And so that's a good opportunity that you can take something that's fairly entertaining by finding a show that you all are interested in, and then kind of picking out the ethical dilemmas that are embedded within those scenarios. One thing I'll let you know about is that some students we've talked to who are into accounting are actually going to see the new movie that's coming out called The Accountant, which if you've seen any of the previews, you know this accountant is less than ethical based on what it's looking like in the preview. So they're going to go watch that movie as a group, and then they're going to come back and talk about some of the dilemmas they saw in it, and so that could be a neat event too. So you can really be creative and try to think outside the box in terms of what types of activities you'd like to do. And then earlier we mentioned that we would talk to you a little bit about how to find speakers, because we know this can be a challenge. So here, I won't read all of these to you, but we have a number of ideas ranging from, as I mentioned earlier, reaching out to alumni, looking at other professors on your campus or your chapter advisor. And number 4, I want to point out to you, it says collaborate with another student organization. We've had a number of chapters who have collaborated with the Philosophy Club, the Marketing Club, Beta Alpha Psi, all kinds of different organizations on campus, and that's a good opportunity to say we're going to bring the content to the meeting, but then we know these other organizations maybe have larger memberships, and so you can expose your student CPT chapter to a larger group. And then in other cases, those groups may also have a network of speakers, and so you can reach out to them and say, hey, maybe you all can provide the speaker for this event, but we would love to work with you all because the ultimate goal is to get this discussion going with as many students as possible about the topic of ethical leadership. Let's see, another one talking about community connections, and we've had several people. I know University of Utah they've actually had some speakers who were either the parents of some of the student chapter members, or they were friends of the parents. So try to be creative in thinking about who you know, who your professors know, and that sort of thing can be helpful as well. And then, again, you can always reach out to us. We oftentimes have speakers that we work with that we may be able to recommend to you, and we can put you in contact with them, try to let you know their rates if we have them, and then see if it makes sense for them to speak to your chapter. So those are all definitely good options for finding speakers as well.
And something that I'd like to point out real quick is that there's a misconception that you don't want to bother people in high-ranking positions because they would never want to or they don't have the time to come speak at your chapter. But our Rutgers chapter in New Jersey actually reached out to their judge, and he was more than happy to come and talk to them. So I know that they're planning that for December. So we really want to encourage you to reach out. I mean, the sky's the limit. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, but at the same time, you're already making that connection by flattering them because you're seeing them as a subject matter expert in ethics.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Alexia. And then here, I wanted to point out to you all that on our Student CPT website, we really want to encourage you all to send us your meeting dates and activities, because what we do is we put them on our news and events page, and so you can kind of see a sample here of what that looks like, and we'll let people know, our donors, other students, we'll let them know about your meetings, and so that's a good way to promote it and help people understand what's going on. This is, our full website here, and so you can see that we have activities ranging from October all the way through January and February of next year. And so we'll try to keep that as up-to-date as possible. So we definitely encourage you to send us your activities and events. Then at the bottom, you'll notice a news section. And what I'll show you there is that we will basically, when you submit an activity report after each of your meetings, we will go ahead and create a news article. And so right now, I'll open up a sample article. Let's do the Creighton Student CPT Creates a Jeopardy app. This is one of the ones I was telling you about earlier. So they did a campus organizational fair, so they sent us some photos, and we were able to put that on the article. And then also, I'll click on this link at the bottom, and this is the Jeopardy app that I was telling you about. So the app is, or the website is called jeopardy.rocks, and what we'll do is click Play Now, and then we'll just do one team for now. But you can have up to 4 teams. Then you pick your team captain, and then you can just hit next there. And so basically what you'll do as the moderator is, as you have teams playing, this is the board that you'll put up on your PowerPoint screen. And what will happen is you will basically have people say, well, I would like to, let's maybe talk about corporate dilemmas for 200. And so you'll click that 200, and then the question pops up. So it says the company lost their license to work as certified public accountant after they were found guilty of obstruction of justice related to an audit of Enron. And so you'll want to think about the team will have to answer who is whatever the company is. And so let's say we get the answer wrong. So let's say I'll say NASDA, that company. So you click the X, and then you'll say, no, the answer was actually Arthur Andersen. So then you can hit continue. And so again, they're just different categories. If you had multiple teams, we only have one team here, but if you had multiple teams, we would then go to the next team, and you can go through all these different questions. But I just thought this was a really innovative and creative idea that seems to be fairly simple to create. And so again, that URL is jeopardy.rocks, and you can sign up there, and it says that you can create your game in a matter of minutes. And so this is a really neat interactive activity for your chapter meetings as well.
And it's free?
Absolutely. Free is always good. So if you have any additional questions about this, feel free to email us. And we can also put you in touch with the Creighton Student CPT who created that particular app that I showed you. And then also, now we can, those are the main ideas that we wanted to share with you today. Again, we always want to be as respectful as possible with your time, and so just wanted to give those quick ideas. However, if any of you have any questions, we would love to hear from you. You can either ask them over the phone or through the chat feature. So feel free if you have any questions to let us know. And if for whatever reason you don't get to ask your question before you get off, definitely feel free to email myself or Alexia. My email address is rhirsch@thecpt.org, and that's spelled rhirsch@thecpt.org, and you can see that in the chat feature right now. And then Alexia's email address is akammer@thecpt.org, and that's AKAMMER@thecpt.org. So we definitely appreciate you all joining us for this chat. Claire, Jessica, definitely feel free to take this information and go back to your chapters and talk to them about some of the ideas you have. And again, if you do get stuck, if you do have any ruts where you just can't figure out what else you'd like to do, feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email. We'd definitely be glad to speak with you. So definitely appreciate you all joining us today. And Alexia, do you have any additional comments?
Just want to encourage everyone to reach out. We're here to help in any way we can.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all, and I hope you have a great day, and good luck with the rest of your semester. Bye.